Hi, and welcome to our conversation, Real Talk with RevOps. I'm thrilled to have this collection of RevOps All-Stars with me today. I'll start with introductions with Ali Rastiello, currently the founder of GTM Edit, which is a fractional slash consulting firm, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And do you want to just give everyone a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. I came up through demand gen and marketing ops, extended it to RevOps in my last role. So I really have a passion for looking at the entire GTM stack and process of how we grow companies. And so, yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys.
Awesome. And Mike Rizzo is the founder and CEO of Marketing Ops Community, just fresh off the heels of MOPSA or Mopsapalooza,
That's right.
your community event. So do you want to give us a little bit of your background?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm CEO and founder of MarketingOps.com, which is the official home of the MoPros community. Some of you may know it as the MoPros. It still is the MoPros. It's just the name of the community of MarketingOps.com. We exist for practitioners that are looking to, current or aspiring practitioners of marketing operations or go-to-market ops broadly. And the whole point is that we're trying to take you from maybe a team of one or a few, and some of you are lucky enough to have more than a few, to a team of like 3,500 or more, and sort of have a brain hive to tap into. And we're on a mission to create a tech agnostic certification path for those who want to build and develop their career in this space, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's
And
kind of,
so,
I guess, me in a background. I'm in B2B SaaS. That's the whole world that I came from. So
yeah, I've known Mike for a long time. I've known Ali for a long time as well. Ali and I worked together about a decade ago at Rackspace.
Yeah, we're
Mike
old.
and I were a little older. Mike and I met probably 5 or 6 years ago, I think, just as a brief introduction. I've been in demand gen marketing for a long time, but and marketing operations has always been a part of that. So I've been following Mike and the MoPros community for quite some time. I'm thrilled to have you here. And then Sara McNamara. Sara is, I think, an inspirational and value added to the community leader in some of the content she puts out. She is the founding ops and go-to-market strategy lead at Vector, but also does this amazing newsletter, which if you haven't subscribed to yet, I would recommend. It's the Marketing Ops Strategist. I have all of her resources bookmarked in my Chrome because they're so great and helpful. So Sara, do you want to just share a little bit about your background? I know you have a lot to offer.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I started in marketing ops as a background. So that's where a lot of my kind of tenure comes from, but I've since branched out into revenue operations too. So I work in RevOps at Vector, a contact-based ad kind of marketing platform. And yeah, I love to share my knowledge. Thanks for the plug of the newsletter.
I really
And
do adore the newsletter.
thank you so much. That means a lot. And I feel it always feels like a win when someone says they bookmark something. It's like a win, but also terrifying at the same time. So, so thank you. But yeah, excited to talk texting. I think it's going to be a big deal moving forward.
Yeah. So I'll just share. I am Amanda McGuckin Hager. I am the CMO and recently also the CRO of TrueDialog. So I look at texting in both the marketing world of demand gen and nurtures and sort of relationship building, and also in the sales world of connections, pipeline velocity, deal velocity. Um, so I have been thinking about texting for a while, since obviously joining TrueDialog almost 2 years now, and just wanted to get us together I really am curious, like, how are the three of you thinking about texting? So that's just the first question. You guys have some great professional experience. You've worked at some big companies. You work with some stellar, the stellar community of other marketing ops, and just would love to hear from you of where are you thinking? What are you hearing? Mike, I'll call on you first.
It's popcorn Mike. Okay. Yeah, no, what do I think about texting? I think texting is this like secret unsung hero in the potential go-to-market system, to be honest,
Yeah.
like that this
Yeah.
motion. Um, I think it probably scares brands more than anything else, particularly on the B2B side. So like my lens is very heavy on the B2B side, right? Like we're
Right.
all
Right.
very used to as consumers like interacting with text nowadays
Yep.
from businesses. But I think when B2B executives even kind of hear the whisper of the idea of text message marketing, they're like, that sounds kind of scary. Like, how do
Hmm.
you execute that? Is there some sort
Yeah.
of limitation in the tech stack that I have to suddenly navigate? Do I own that? Is that an IT system? Like, I don't really know. And then, is there some new compliant? Like, there's just all these questions that I think immediately should pop up for an executive. But the reality is that like, the answers are out there, and it's like so not hard to stand up. Like, so I think my purview is that B2B brands need to start thinking about it very actively. Um, and the reality is that it's probably already happening. You just don't know, right? Like your reps are probably texting your customers, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
making
what we're
deals.
hearing. That's what we're hearing. I actually had been talking with some pipeline intelligence solutions. I think you guys all know what that is when I say that. Um, and one of them had come to us to say our our pipeline intelligence doesn't actually capture SMS as a signal. And so my customers are sitting down with their sales teams and saying, this deal hasn't had activity in 2 weeks. How can you say it's going to be closing? And the rep is like, well, I'm on text with them. Like I'm talking with them now. So just to validate your point, yes, we're hearing that as well. That the reps are all texting each other and texting their prospects and customers. I don't know, Ali or Sarah, if you are hearing that as
I'm
well.
experiencing it.
You
So,
are?
yeah, so when you know, in my last role, I was the key person that bought every piece of tech in the go-to-market platform, right? Marketing, sales, customer support, all of those things were in my purview.
And this was in healthcare, right?
This was in healthcare. This was at Health Catalyst. And every deal that I made involved some level of texting. And in fact, when I posted about doing this webinar, the first person that liked it was a salesperson that I bought from. And I was like, and I tagged him in my response, and I was like, do you remember like the majority of our deal was done over text message?
Right.
Because we were having all of our conversations about like budget limitations and timing and all of that stuff in real time in text. And at the same time, I'm the RevOps leader trying to build activity tracking of my sales reps. And I'm totally doing this like offline with him. So like there's no tracking of that unless he's putting notes in that he texted me or, anything like that. So
And can
And
we
we all know
just,
how that
we all
goes.
know sales. We
correct.
just, we
Correct.
all
We
know how that's
know,
going to
right?
go.
And so I think that it is done a lot. I think especially in this like once a deal's in pipe, the sales, a lot of that sell is happening, the updates and things are happening on text. I think a lot of the relationship building that they're doing in customer service, or should be doing, I should say, would be happening over text if you have a good relationship with your customer. And I know that, there are I call them my BFF brands that anytime that I get hired somewhere, I bring the technologies on because I feel like they're so important to the tech stack and I have such good relationships with them. They're on my text anyway. So as soon as I'm like in a new role or I'm advising somebody, I'll be like, hey, I'm texting you right now because I'm sending so and so your way. Or I think that, there's a potential here. It's just a way of life. I
Hmm.
don't know that there's ever gonna, I shouldn't say ever. I think on the marketing side, like from a true like the way that we do in D2C, because I'm also standing up a D2C brand, um, I think that's a little bit different because that's more like impulse buying and excitement and oh, there's a discount right now. That's not really the mentality or the thinking of how we sell in B2B. So
Right.
I don't know how much that would get adopted on the marketing side, but I feel like on the sales and customer side, all
Yeah.
day long, if we could track all of that activity, that would be such a great indicator of signals.
Yeah. Agree. I mean, we talked previously getting ready for this just about, and I use the word intimate, and it's an intimate channel, right? Your friends, your family, my mom, my children, like my best friends are in here, as well as my vendors and my coworkers and everyone else, right? But it is almost like the bat line uh, into your prospects and customers.
Mhm.
um, there's a lot here to unpack. Mike, you brought up compliance, and Allie, you talked about activity tracking, and there is a compliance element with the sales that one of the vendors I had been talking with was concerned about, which was customer data, right? If you have customer data on your reps' personal cell phones, and they leave, actually, one of our customers is a bank who was saying that their wealth advisors
Mhm.
were texting with their clients, and when they left the bank, or should they be leaving the bank, they would walk out with those relationships in their own personal device. And so the wealth advisor ended up owning the relationship rather than the bank owning the relationship, simply because of the conversations taking place
Mhm.
outside of the system.
Hmm.
So there is that level of compliance and
But I
activity
think that would
tracking.
happen regardless, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
like that's
I
gonna
think
happen no matter what. Like, come
Yeah.
on, brand, whatever
Go
you
ahead,
are, like
Sarah.
wealth management brand. We're all gonna be on LinkedIn being BFFs anyway. So, like, what are
Yeah,
you
that's
talking
true.
about?
That's
I
true.
think on the flip side, though, I think there is some brand protection in the idea that you have some visibility into the conversation and that it remains professional.
Mm,
Like I've worked in kind of like the financial industry, and you do have some reps who will kind of go a little bit into weird territory at times, and you would like to have visibility into that, right? Before it becomes like someone's calling into the office. Like I actually had an old story where someone was allowed to set up their own subdomain and email a bunch of people, and they ended up emailing some kind of like recruiting adjacent email to a bunch of customers because they
oh,
weren't centralized within RevOps and had the visibility, didn't really know what they were doing, honestly.
Yeah.
sort of the transparency and accountability was missing.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
business didn't realize it until, one of the VPs started getting these angry phone calls. Why are you sending, we're partners as brands. Why are you sending my reps these messages that are like recruiting language? So if you can have that visibility, you can, train people on how to best do this kind of stuff, and then also curb if someone is doing something that uh, is not so creative and a little more like brand damaging.
Yeah.
I like that idea too, because I mean, you do get that level of control when you say institute something like a gong, where you're kind of monitoring the conversations that are having you're having in meetings.
Hmm.
So this would be another avenue of like wanting some level of control and visibility on that. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all briefly kind of scratched at this the first time we all chatted, but and it's come up naturally again here, right? It's just like this is again just one of the questions that I think makes adopting like text messaging like quote unquote like scary for brands or what have you, but like to the point of having the visibility into the conversation, like you know, if you have this something in place to be able to monitor and see what's going on and track the sort of deal velocity and all that stuff on a very intimate channel, as we've talked about, I can say, like, as a buyer, I feel really good when I have a relationship with a rep. If I've given them my phone number, it's probably a really good signal that we're headed the right
Yeah.
direction, right?
Yeah.
And so like you want to almost encourage that for your sellers to have that, and the simultaneously your sellers would probably feel like, oh yeah, like this is feeling really strong. I've got a I have a great text message conversation going with a huge enterprise brand right now that wants to potentially, support the community. And you bet your bottom dollar, I'm like, we're best
That's a
friends, right? Hi.
Yeah, that's a big
You
signal
know?
right there. That's a big
It's
signal.
a huge signal. But I think this idea of like you being an employee, you owning your relationships, or like to the degree that you're an employee, you own the relationship on behalf of the brand. I think it does beg the question, like you know, brands, if it really scares you that much, IT already probably provisions a machine to them for their, laptop, at least for security and compliance perspective. Just provision a phone. Just
Yeah.
give them a phone. Let them run
Yeah.
with a phone. If
Yeah.
that's your motion, like go for it. If you
Yeah.
don't want to do that, then get something like a TrueDialog in place to at least start tracking and monitoring these things. But like
Yeah.
go the next level and just like give them a phone, because at this point we're all working on them anyway. And arguably, I think you should, just because I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You're
that's my
pulling
call
in
out to the companies.
the I'm flashing back to moments in time of bring your own device, when that was a new thing. Probably not a new thing anymore, but to your point, provisioning the equipment is probably best practice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I think it's the right thing to do for a company to think about, if it wants to implement technology that has some level of observability across the go-to-market motions, to
Mhm.
also provide the hardware that
Yeah.
can make those things happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know why phones have gotten left by the wayside. Like they're no more expensive than a laptop
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I think
I
it's odd too, because I always had a phone provisioned for me until probably when I joined Big Commerce in 2017. They didn't provide one, and they didn't actually like reimburse or anything, which was
yeah.
very weird because for the first, I don't know, since I started like doing this in 2007, I always had a phone given to me by the company I worked for.
Yeah, I've carried two
Um,
phones. My
yeah.
personal and my work phone, which is
Hmm.
there's some freedom in that too, right? When you can just put your work phone away and you're like, I
Yep.
don't have to answer that.
oh, it's great. Yeah.
Um,
So I
but
just think that's an interesting trend too that's happened over the years.
yeah,
Or they pay for your personal device, which is what Health Catalyst did for me.
yeah.
Right, which I
Well,
think is the right thing to do, right? Like
Mhm.
we openly are recognizing that you're going to use your devices for
for
these business
business.
transactions, and we're
Yeah.
going to like subsidize the cost of that to some extent. I think there's like, I know in California there's some state policies that actually require some level of reimbursement, to anybody working from home for like some portion of their internet. It's like, so I don't know if it's different across different states, but yeah. Anyway, we're rabbit holing here on device
Yeah.
hardware and stuff like that.
I was
So
going to say what I want to pivot to the marketing use case. So I know we talked a lot about
yeah,
sales and just kind of on the heels of the bring your own device or provision device, but let's switch over into marketing. So I've been I almost a lifelong marketer, specifically B2B um, demand generation. And I see a lot of opportunity for brands and texting, specifically, the ones off the top of my head are certainly event reminders,
Mhm.
like what we have here, in-person events, Mike, with MOPSA happening. I belong to another community and they were having an event, and in the middle of the event, they got Uber credits or promotion codes for everyone for the after party, right? So no one had to drive home or deal with that. But they had no way to get them to everyone in attendance in real time because they didn't have a tech solution in place. And so there are opportunities, sort of event operations, day of event type opportunities there. And I think there's also opportunity with like dropping high value content, right? I've got a new research report, or we've just issued, I don't know, something else of excitement, product launches. Um, but I'd love to hear, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm clearly biased. So I'd love to hear you guys, your perspectives on the marketing use case.
I'm very bullish on B2B being a few years behind B2C. So I'm always watching like what are B2C marketers doing?
Mm-hmm.
And like one way that we started reflecting this at Vector is like right off the bat when I joined, we just added a newsletter sign up. We didn't even have a newsletter, but it was like, well, we want people like people are following a company, especially of our size, for the people. They're not following it because of a brand per se, that especially at that stage. But even some of the larger brands, like I know people from Gong who have continued to follow throughout their career. And so we set up that channel and then became more of almost like a personal newsletter where we have like individual people at the company writing their own little editions. And then people get so excited to read them. Like the reception of that has been huge
That's
because you
awesome.
can hear the personality. And
Coming through, yeah.
I'm very bullish on the idea that B2B has become far too serious. And especially with AI coming into the picture, I think things will become more and more rigid and boring.
Yeah.
And I think the brands that will succeed will be the ones that have figured out how do we become fun? Obviously in a professional, like we don't want to be unprofessional, but like,
Right, right.
but do a little bit of just fun stuff that makes people smile. And you get those responses that are like, this was a joy to read. Like I've never read a B2B newsletter that's been a joy to read, at least not in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
remember
awesome.
the days early on when I was at this company called The Planet, which is now like part of IBM, but they were a hosting company. And I mean, let's get more boring than that. But they were targeting like gamers, and this was back when you had like hobbyists doing lots of stuff before there was like much easier ways to set up your websites and things like that. So there's a lot of hobbyists out there and a lot of like high like people that spend a lot of money on their servers to play games.
Oh yeah.
And also it was just kind of like the new tech world that
Hmm.
was emerging. So we would do crazy stuff. Like it was like I remember when we first started out on Twitter, like that we were like, there's this thing called Twitter and we can
I
use
remember
it.
that. I remember
I
those
remember
days.
when Twitter
I do.
launched, and I remember having the first conversations around like, how do we use this?
Hmm.
I wrote an article, a blog there about social media and how that was going to change B2B in like 2007. And you know, it's so wild to see like the creative things that we were able to do back then that we just I feel like marketing is like so stuck in a box and they're like, well, I need a nurture cadence and I need to do a webinar and I need to do the like nothing is fun
And
about
everyone else
that.
is doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
nothing's fun about that. And if we could get back to the fun, I think it would change the game in a lot of ways.
So have I told you guys about RCS and what that is and so RCS, for those of you that don't know, is if you're an Android user, you know this already. If you're an iPhone user, it was just supported in the last year or so. I think it's now turned on by default, but it from a marketing and sort of RevOps perspective, it allows us to send what I refer to as like an HTML email in your text, right? You're going to have carousels, call to action buttons, interactivity. You can send polls, you can send surveys. Like it's going to open the world up from just a plain, I mean, really and truly, the text message is not that far off from like a Twitter message, right? I think Twitter was 120 characters and text is 160 characters. It's all plain, kind of boring to your point. Um, but RCS is going to change that, and this next year I think is going to be the year of RCS. So I'm hoping that that will be the channel for which fun
Fun
and
happens.
surprise and delight comes back.
The
I
Yeah,
think
surprise
it's
and the delight piece is what's missing greatly.
yeah,
And like also you don't see we see evangelists. Like I feel like Sarah is a great one. Mike, your whole community's full of it. Like there's evangelists out there, but I don't think companies are taking advantage of having evangelists for their brand anymore like we used to do. We had a whole role at that first company where we were doing fun stuff that was just an evangelist. It was a young guy that was super into, you know, the tech and understanding it and would do fun things. He had something like, do you want to see your server? And he had
yeah.
people on Twitter asking him to go take a picture of their little server in the data center. And we had like 7 data centers at this point. And he would go and he would stand there with his like, and there you could see their IP address or whatever it was to like, I don't know, and take the
It
picture.
was cute.
And it was
Yeah,
cute and people loved it.
That's
Like,
yeah,
awesome.
so
yeah,
I'd be
silly,
like,
but
yeah,
so
send me a
fun.
stupid picture of my server. I definitely want to see it. Like,
I
send
yeah.
it over. Show me the hardware. That is so cool.
Yes.
Honestly, I would have said yes.
I think
Just
I
cuz.
think brands
Like,
are
where does it
starting to
live?
do that. I think brands are starting to do that again, but I think think about it this way: even if you hire an evangelist, the channels they have right now are like LinkedIn, which is the algorithm is a nightmare
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time.
Absolute
They
nightmare.
have email, super inundated and also unreliable, right? Like could just be a soft bounce for barely any reason. That the server that day was overloaded. So you're struggling to get that voice out, even when people want to hear it, even when people subscribe. Like I have to have
Yeah.
all my subscribers respond, being like, hello, yes, I would like to say once again that I would like to receive this email. And even then, I'm sure they don't get every email. Whereas, and also think about how often you change emails too, from like a practicality perspective. The amount of churn of the last few years with the job market has been wild.
Yeah.
Even with my newsletter to manage, it's like, oh, that person's already moved like twice in the last like year and a half.
Yeah.
Whereas like text is a lot more, it tends to be a lot more stable.
And
And
sticky.
I
Talk about
think,
stable. I've had my number since I was 13.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
But
a long
Amanda, like
time.
you and I were talking about, like, I'm already getting, there's like a local group called The Nudge in San Diego where you can sign up and you can get local events sent to you. So it takes away that workload of having to like suss through all the
All
announcements
the
and stuff.
lists. Yeah.
And I love that stuff. I'm looking to get it. I'm sure there are sponsored posts in there, but
Yeah.
ultimately if they still are in my interest realm, then it's like, number one, I'm getting it and I'm likely to read it, way more likely than an email. And then there's no algorithm to try to like
To fight
push you
with.
to spend even more money to try to get it in front of me.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm in I'm in this like health coaching program thing that I've been in now for a year. I could tell you that I've attended exactly zero of the coaching like sessions so far, in
Yeah.
terms of like the group coaching sessions, that are more like webinars basically. But I definitely have it in my mind that I want to go. And guess what? Not only do I get the little app because there's a community app, I get the app notification, but I get a text every single time too.
Yeah.
Ask me if I've unsubscribed in the last 12 months from each one of those. Nope, never once. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, one of these days I'm going to join that dang webinar.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would just,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm passionate
I have the
enough to just
same
stay
thing.
aware.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The,
Like
the
super sticky.
it is super sticky. It is really sticky. So I just back to the marketing use case, any ideas out there? If not, then I want to ask you guys about AI because I have to.
Oh gosh.
I just want to like for anybody who's either watching right now or watches this later, right? We talked a little bit about the idea of events, right when you kicked it off, Amanda.
Mhm.
You might say like in whoever's watching this, right? Go, oh, we don't do events. Like,
Mhm.
no, you don't have to run Mopsapalooza, a 490 person conference, to say that you're running events. I'll bet you do dinners. I'll bet you
Yeah.
go to a conference and you know people who are headed that way. And the mere fact that you have access to another distribution channel that says,
Mhm.
hey, by the way, I'm on site at booth number X as one of the sponsors. If you're around, would love to buy you coffee.
Mhm.
That you do events.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the fastest way to get someone's attention when you're in a field event is on their phone via text.
Yeah.
Yes,
Period. Full
I,
stop. You're not going to read their emails. Like
I,
they're like, nope, email's gone right now. I'm
I
here.
fully agree. I fully agree. And I think um, there's these aspects of that when you use an event app, but I don't think it's the same
It's not.
as like a direct connection to that person. So I am in full agreement that like an events use case is huge for the texting piece. And there was, I mean, this was a, I don't even know what event it was, but there was one that was doing, this was years ago, that was doing some, had some level of text capabilities and was sending out updates via text. And it was so much easier to know where I needed to go. I don't
Yeah.
remember if I was like I signed up through something to get them. I don't know. But I do think that's a big use case. I love the idea of nurturing through that as well. I just feel like because it's so personal, like that opt-in is going to be real important.
Yeah.
And the MOPS community or the MOPS team that's running this is going to have to be very stringent just in
Yeah.
the same way that we were in the beginning of email when we had to run around and be like, you can't just buy a list. What are you doing?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Right. There are compliance elements, there's quiet hours. And we could talk for probably a whole nother webinar on some of the compliance issues
Mhm.
of what an opt-in looks like. As of today, there is no, in email, we have subscription types, right? So if someone unsubscribes, something pops up and says, well, do you want to get marketing emails? Do you want to get event emails? Do you want to get product updates, et cetera, different opportunities to subscribe to more tailored content. That doesn't exist yet in text. It's either
Mm.
you're in or you're out. You're opted in or you're not.
Mhm.
And so there is an element of those early days of email of being really careful and cautious. But also, we've got to try things as brands, right? We are actually about to publish some research on opt-outs and times of messages sent and types of messages. So there is some research out there on that. There is also research out there, if anyone is interested, on in-app notifications versus text messaging. It validates everything you just said, Allie. In-app notifications are yesterday. People are ignoring them, silencing them, clearing them, right? Not paying attention to them. Text message is totally different there.
Because you have to be there in case your family's texting you or something is important coming through. So
Mhm.
there's no way that you're ignoring that on your phone. And
Yeah.
if you are, how do you do it? Because I've
Yeah,
never figured that
tell,
out.
yeah, send us the messages on how, because I don't know how to back out either. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I think you're doing no matter what, you're probably got an events motion, whether you're attending or hosting. It's sort of beside the
And it
point.
could be a digital event like this, right?
Right,
I
right,
think
and
a personal
exactly.
invite from your evangelist, your leader, your whoever it might be, goes a really long way to that personal connection that we've talked about.
Yeah, and I think that's the unique sort of opportunity of texting in general is uh, treating it like a more, I think Sarah, you were talking about this like this newsletter concept, right? And giving it's not like a standardized motion, so to speak, like a playbook or whatever, but I would say, hey, if you wanted to treat it like a personal channel and you said, we're just going to support our CEO writing a newsletter, right? Opt in to hear from the CEO and like give him a phone number or her a phone number. Um, the other thing is like give your CRO or your head of customer success or your head of product, like give them the different channels to opt into. And I think you can still sort of circumvent the issue of like you're either in or you're out. You just have to like then provision different numbers for different
Yeah,
purposes
there
and
is a
just
good
lean into it,
strategy. Yeah,
right? And it's just like, oh, like let's think about like this really intimate channel. How do we bring that level of intimacy to those people from not just the brand, but like the people who are at the brand? And I think it just
totally.
takes like a little bit of creative thought to sit there and go, okay, now that we have this channel, how can we optimize the use of it? Uh, that fundamentally feels different from email, right? Like email is just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna send everybody whatever we want. Like,
Yeah.
I would argue you should do the same for email, but most of us don't. So, and since we're talking about text, that's just one thing that I would say is, yeah, I think nurturing in that way is like super, super relevant. And people are just used to buying that way now. Like
Yeah. And I
I'm
will
totally
say,
in.
yeah, one of the things, Amanda, that stuck out to me was when I was mutual friends of ours, I won't say names, but I was having like a little cocktail hour with them. And I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing for Amanda. And I was like, it's really interesting. She works for this like texting company. And the first reaction was like, oh God, if people start texting me stuff about buying B2B technology, I'm gonna die. And I was like, wow, that was a visceral reaction to that. But I
Yeah.
think it's because they haven't thought of like they're just thinking about like how we get spammed for political stuff and things like that, right? And if
Yeah.
you really have, you're gonna have to do some education in the market about like how they use it specifically,
Yeah.
um, and really show some like use cases for them and like spell it out. Because I
Yeah.
thought it was really interesting when I was like, wow, okay,
Yeah. I
that's a
mean, I would
reaction.
say any brand, B2C or B2B, that is following the politician's implementation of campaigns is probably not going to win favor, because there's a lot of non-compliant opt-in, right? I don't know about y'all, but I'm like, how did they even get my number? You know,
Yeah.
2 or 3.
They write themselves out of the regulation. Don't you love that?
Yeah,
It's frustrating.
that's another topic altogether.
Yeah.
But
Cocktail topic.
anyway, not the best use case for any real brand, I think. And it does go back to that compliance. It does go back to that sort of being really cautious and careful. But I would also argue, Allie, that maybe our potential friends are of a certain age,
Mhm.
because texting is truly sort of a generational thing, right? There are the digital natives that have grown up with this that are not checking email. Like, I have friends whose kids are in college applications and they have to be like, have you checked your email to see if you got into
Yeah.
school? And no, they hadn't, right? So email is kind of a thing, and phone calls. I think Apple has a setting on their phone, right? Not, at least I have mine turned on. Numbers that I don't know, that are not in my contact list, they go straight to voicemail, right? I'm not even
Mhm.
going to take my
I don't
time
think I
to.
have that turned on, but it has the thing now where this is a spam call. It'll tell you like if it's spam, potential spam, and then it'll also tell you that you can turn it on and they can say who they are, and then you can accept the call if
Oh,
you know who they are,
I'm
which
gonna
is
have to turn
Hmm.
that on. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and so those
but email
channels
and
are blocked.
exactly, yeah, email and phone, I think, are less appealing to the younger generations. I know Sarah and I were talking. And if I may share it, Sarah said, I almost prefer someone text me because.
Do not call me. Just
Yeah.
do not. But I think a lot of that has to do with, like, don't think about texting as the new email. I like fundamentally disagree with that. I don't think we just want to send, we have a message we want to send from our company. Let's send it to everyone. I
Mm,
think it needs to be more strategic than that. And my evidence there is like, I feel like it started with email. Then you started getting people just like spray and praying email. So then people
mhm.
moved to like going on like Slack, for example. But now I'm a member of a million Slack groups. They all just at everyone. And then I like, now I barely check the Slack groups because there's like too much going
A
on.
lot of
It's become
noise.
too many announcements. So I think now people are trying to say, okay, now where do we go? I think text will be the next place, but my hope, and I'm sure there are going to be people who are going to abuse it, but my hope is that if we are really strategic about it as like a high value place, the offering needs to be high value. And like I said, ideally is something that's fun or that like sparks some kind of joy to receive, right? Like if I'm in marketing ops and I'm new and I'm struggling in my role, if you are a MarTech company and you can send me some really good advice and like career stuff, something of high value to me, well, then you've got a loyal follower. If you just send me, hi, everyone always jokes about those bank notifications, like, hello, I am your bank. It's like, there's no value in that. Or like, hello, I am a salesperson and I want you to buy my thing. No value in that. That needs to be
Mhm.
like a high value offering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Or a
mean,
personal invite, right?
yeah. I
Mhm.
also think that goes back to your content strategy as a marketer and creating things that are very interesting and useful to people versus here's a white paper.
Hmm.
Here's here's a tech spec on like what we offer. Like
Here's a
make it
data sheet.
interesting
Yeah.
and make it connect to you as a human being and your emotional responses before you ever get into the nuts and bolts of what it is. And I think that, in my experience, advising a lot of people, looking at a lot of marketing, that is so missed in B2B, of that human sort of connection that you're supposed to be making
Hmm.
versus just, I have a thing, I have a widget, and I think you need my widget.
Yeah. I think you all have seen the trends and heard the trends. You know, we have AI coming up hot and heavy. I think one of you mentioned boring, right? It does start to feel really rote and this and similar. And in this market and in this environment, exactly what you guys said, the authenticity becomes where content used to be king, right? I think authenticity now becomes king, of like that real human, exactly what Sarah's doing with the vector newsletter, the putting the human behind it. exactly what you're talking about, Allie, with the evangelists, right? And then Mike using all of that in a strategic way through the different channels, being really, conscientious, I should say, and maybe intentional about using those channels.
I
Yeah,
think it's going to separate the winners from the losers of different channels very quickly. Like I already see this on LinkedIn messaging. I've seen reps that just send a generic message. It flops most of the time because people identify it. They're like, this is not meant for me specifically. I also have worked with other reps who like really look at the person's profile, really understand who they are, try to see who they know, like as mutual acquaintance, try to get some intel there, then be like, hey, you're going to be interested in this. And it's not about, we want to sell you something, we want you to know about our product. It's more like, hey, this could help you. You might be interested in this. And also like, it's on our website, or it's like, there's some kind of correlation there where then maybe you'll eventually start to get to know the brand and be like, oh, this could be helpful in this strategy that I'm trying to implement.
Yeah.
yeah. I think it for sure comes back down to just like the amount of time and effort that a human can put into building a relationship. A brand can do that too, right? A brand can come off as such that it cares about people for sure. It's just like, I don't know. I do think that the sort of landscape, again, I come from B2B SaaS, so we've watched this like dramatic shift in the, spend ahead of revenue, all the growth at all costs kind of a thing. It's shifted now to more modest, measured growth, and I think because of that, we're now seeing a resurgence in the focus of the brand's value and its relationship to its customers, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the value of investing in brand is now getting more attention, which then trickles down into these motions, which, despite AI and all of its ability to do things, um, you know, sometimes at scale, et cetera, it's just not quite as personalized, but it can give you a significant leg up if you just then put the
Yeah.
human in the loop to sort of tie in the loose ends and build in the relationships. And a brand can do that. They just need to spend a minute to think about like, what does the audience care about? And I think that just is this like, this is the intersection of my MOPS and my community manager role when I was at a company formerly known as Maven Link, building their customer community. We yeah, we had a product, right? And we were talking about features and functionality and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they were people and they were worried about their margins and their profitability as a project management company. Uh, they're worried about running a business, making it run profitably, their staff being overworked or underworked or whatever, all of these things. And so just spend a minute like, go find research, do your own research, provide them the value and deliver that through a text, right? And say, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I know, Amanda, you're thinking long and hard about org structure right now. And even though I have nothing to do with selling you org structure management tools, in fact, I'm totally something else. I still thought that this might be helpful for you. And
Yeah.
here's what I found. Let me know if you found this interesting. I would love to have a conversation about some other things over coffee sometime, right? It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, sorry. Oh shoot. Like that, you know what? Thank you for that.
We
That's
did
super
say it was going to
helpful.
be a spicy conversation. So
Sorry.
no, it's all good.
But in any case, like the idea is a brand and its people can meet the people where they're at, right? And just like
Yeah.
think about what they care about. Sarah does a wonderful benchmark study or has done a benchmark study on salaries. We do one for our annual research too. Just delivering that to somebody, that's great, right? We're not trying to tell them how to go increase their salary every day, but they want to know,
Yeah.
so anyway.
Absolutely. That's high value content. I mean, that's what I was thinking of when, being able to drop or share high value content, kind of like a product launch in some ways, only it's a content launch, right? I think that's a great use case for text, especially in a community that have shared and similar interests, or your followers, or your brand aficionados if you're a B2B brand.
Mhm.
Um, We have a few minutes left and I want to ask you guys. So let's say that you're working with a company and their leadership, sales, marketing, I'm not sure, pick one, maybe CS, comes to you and says, we need to do text messaging. So as a MOPS / RevOps leader, what is your first step? What do you do? Where do you go? What do you think? What do you need to know?
My first thought would be, let me figure out what companies do this. Like just a quick, like a Google search or ChatGPT of like, hey, tell me companies that do these things
Mm-hmm.
and have good controls and have good, like some level of reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would do a short list and then I would go start looking at websites, understanding what they have to offer, signing up for demos. But my biggest concern would be I want to know what kind of controls I have over it, what kind
Mm-hmm.
of reporting on the back end I can get so that I can see what transactions are actually happening and how can we measure this in terms of the lift it's going to give us in whatever motion we're looking to do this in, right? Whatever team it is, doesn't matter. But those are the two things, right? Controls and then how we measure it and what benefit is it going to bring us.
Yeah. What about Mike and Terry? Same?
What's the strategy? Because
That's what you want to
like
know?
we've talked about, if they come to me and they're like, we just want to spray and pray a sales message, we need to talk more about this and what we're trying to do with it. Like, that's not going to
Yeah.
work. That's going to be wasted money. So yeah, I would probably start there, trying to understand like, okay, how has this come to mind? Ideally, like maybe someone sees this webinar and they bring it to their team. Like to me, that's the best spot to be in, is to like come to the team with a strategy of like, here's what I think we can do. Here are some benchmarks I think we could try to hit at least and maybe exceed. But yeah, definitely if they're not ready from a strategy perspective, then I would want to talk more about that and do some
Mm-hmm.
education and try to get them on the right page to be successful with it.
Yeah. I'm flashing back to your LinkedIn feed, and that your answer is just perfectly you. I have seen that in all of your, not all of them, but in many of your LinkedIn posts. How are we going to use this, right? That's really important. So, what about you, Mike? If it flash back to when you were not running a community, but actually in-house somewhere, or to conversations with some of your community members that are in-house. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so you asked the question like, what do you do first?
mhm.
I'll be honest, like just because my brain operates that way now, and I know that there's resources, I'm gonna go to my community, not marketing ops, the community. I'm gonna go to my network of people that I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and just say, hey, who's doing this, right? And if that happens to be the marketing ops community, great, or Rev Genius or RevOps Co-op or whatever, right? Like go to your community and see who's doing what. And then I think from there, it's definitely, uh, if I was a practitioner in that role, 1,000% I'm going to ask why, like what's
Yeah.
going on. Hopefully they delivered that message sort of right out of the gate. But uh, it's it's a really delicate role to be in MOPS and RevOps, right? Like the question is asked from a absolute place of love, right? And great intention. The let's talk about the strategy and the why that Sarah brings up all the time is like
Mhm.
often seen as like us being kind of jerks, and like that's
Mhm.
not at all what it is, and it's definitely not us trying to get out of work. It's just us trying to make sure that the work doesn't get out of hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
spirals out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
So
often gotten like, you're the girl that does the bee boops. Why do you care why we want to do this?
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Ooh.
they're just
Uh,
like you're the technical person. Like you don't understand marketing strategy. And I just want to be like, you need to sit down for 5 minutes and let's talk about the fact that I came from demand.
yeah.
You have to, and it does cause a lot of friction because you're like, I've been in your role before. Like I can tell you exactly what your thought process is right now. So let's talk about like the best way to do this. And it always does have this like rub to it. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm very blunt, but also that, I think it does put you in a hard place. And I'll say in the last couple of roles that I was in, I was the one driving we
The
need to do this
innovation.
now.
Yeah.
Yes. Like nobody in the teams were thinking about anything because they were a little bit immature in terms of like technology and thinking
Was
more
this also healthcare?
healthcare and what the other one was HR, which were they were actually more fun about some of the stuff they were doing. But
But
it's
both
but from
really
a
compliance, like they're legal and HR both have,
yeah,
I'm sorry, not
Hmm.
legal, healthcare and
healthcare
HR both have legal compliance, a lot of it wrapped around. So
wrapped around it, right? Yeah.
it makes
But
sense. They might be more conservative.
they're more, yeah, conservative isn't a good way to put it, but they just hadn't been shown the way of like how technology can help them grow, and they
Mhm.
just didn't think that way. They were especially at the health company I was at, it was a lot of brand marketers that
Mhm.
were
Hmm.
in demand roles. So they just didn't think about that technology piece ever.
Mhm.
And they never like came up through that. And so it was a lot of me and my team sitting down with them and being like, here's the technology you need. You keep saying you need to do ABM, for example.
Mhm.
Well, there's technologies that will help you do it the right way and help you understand how to do it. And like you're telling them what the strategy is, and they still can't wrap their heads around it.
It's yeah, it's a this is totally like why the community and what Sarah puts out there and what you are doing, Ali, and sessions at MOPSA and so on and so forth, right? All these, whether it's this webinar or workshops or whatever, like this is exactly why we keep trying to push the agenda of like guiding organizations and leadership to start looking at the folks that come out of a marketing ops background as your go-to-market strategist or as
Yeah.
your go-to-market tech stack product manager and architect. And
Mhm.
it's just a conversation of the art of the possible. It's
Hmm.
not a I
Yeah.
know how to do your job better than you conversation.
Yeah.
It's just that like the most succinct way that I think you could deliver the message nowadays, Ali, is at least I'm obviously saying this
Hmm.
from my perspective, is to say, hey, modern marketing doesn't happen without technology. And
Yeah.
I know technology really well, which means I'm forced fundamentally to understand the broad stroke motions of the go-to-market like ecosystem. I need to know generally what ABM is and SEO is and SEM and
Mhm.
text message. I need to know just generally about GDPR and compliance and all those things. I have to be at least at a sort of broad stroke level aware of those things. It doesn't mean I'm going to be your expert demand gen person, but I
Yeah.
am going to try to unlock some possibilities for you. So let's have a really exciting conversation about go to market and the channels and the tools.
Yeah.
And if it's text, let's go talk about what that looks like. And to circle back to your question, Amanda, like I'll immediately go into a build versus buy question, right?
Mhm.
There's plenty of tech for you to be able to tap into building your own sort of like capabilities around sending text. But
Yeah.
then there's the go buy solutions that equip you to solve some of the things that Ali's questioning, right? Like, does it integrate? How do I report? What controls do I have?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the conversations that I think are exciting for all of us to bridge that gap in the someone came to us and said they want to do text messaging.
Yeah. I love that you said the art of the possible. I love that. Um,
We're
because
all
it
going to
has,
steal it now.
yeah, such a great.
I definitely
I,
say that probably far too much, and I'm positive I borrowed it from somewhere else.
we're
I
gonna
don't know
borrow
where
it from you.
anymore. I definitely got it from somewhere else. So if someone figures out where I got it from, please tell me so I can give credit where credit's due because I did not make that up.
Yeah.
Sarah, you
But
were
anyway.
gonna say something?
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a like a come to Jesus happening in B2B SaaS right now with some of the economic pressures and the pressure to not only conserve dollars but also grow. I think B2B SaaS for a long time, especially in the sales world, got away with you want to do ABM by 6 cents. But the reality is a lot of those customers were not ready for 6 cents. And
No.
I resent the idea, like Mike is totally on point, but I resent the idea that we're saying no by saying you shouldn't spend $100,000 on something that's going to completely fail. Like there's like a 99% chance without a strategy, then it's going to fail. And my evidence is we're starting to really see that. A lot of marketers are now trying to get out from under those ABM platforms because they're like, this is not working. Why did I buy this? Like I was not ready for this. Um, so I just wanted to plant the seed. Like my hope is like we talked a lot on this call about the strategy behind it. And to me, that's the most important. I think Amanda, cover your ears in theory, but like you can go with different tools. That to me is not the most important. Now, certainly if you have certain requirements, then that matters with the tooling, but it's more about what are we trying to accomplish with this? And
Yeah.
then what is the tool that's going to help us get there that has like the best functionality, the best support
Yep.
team, the best, maybe they're visionaries in the space.
Yeah.
I hope people walk away with that, not that we just need to buy something to do something, because so often that just
That's
completely
the next
flops.
best thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I applaud you and agree 100%. I am biased with a company who employs me and I adore this product. However, it's not the right product for everyone. And by I would be foolish to say that it is, right? I want all of us in good spirit to get the tools that solve for the use case and the strategy um,
Use case,
that works.
strategy, company size, where you are in your maturity
Mhm.
level as a company, as a
Exactly.
growth org, or whatever it is. I think that that's really important. One of the things that I walked into Health Catalyst the day they bought an ABM tool, like the day they signed the paper. And I was like, why did you do
Day
that?
one.
And I was like, can we dial that back? And I actually went to the vendor and was like, hey, can we undo this? And they were like, LOLs, no, you can't.
Good luck to you.
And I was like, but I know that they can't do this yet. Like just through the interview process, I knew they were not nowhere near
It's
that,
too
right?
premature. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
And
I think that's why talks like this are important though, because we're like there's educating of the market, but like honestly, even I'm still educating myself
yeah.
on
Totally.
what's possible with texting. Like Amanda, you're teaching me a lot about like what is coming up soon. So we
Mhm.
don't need to jump to it right away. Like to me, the most important thing is like getting a feel, lay of the land of what's out there. So then we can get to that point where I'm like, I understand what I can do with this and I have a plan.
Yeah. I mean, exactly to your point, B2C, your earlier point, B2C has been doing this for a long time, right? We're all getting those text messages, the promotions, the your orders on the way, text, etc. B2B is generally speaking, historically not very far behind. And I think now is the time to start looking at how is B2C using it? Are those use cases applicable at all to the B2B motion and in what way? And then there is a lot of education, right? There's the compliance, the opt-in, the pricing, the models, the carrier pass-through fees, the device level. I mean, the user access level. There's a lot to learn. And I'll be honest, before stepping into this company, I had no idea what any of that was, right? So I'm learning along with everyone. So we are almost at time. I want to thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts. I do have the highest respect for each of you as professionals, and I'd like to say as friends at this point. So thank you. Um, any last burning desires? Any last, if you had one thing to say on text, I'll go first. If you have not started an opt-in, kind of like Sara did at Vector, they didn't have a newsletter, but started an opt-in. If you have not yet started a text opt-in policy, understanding the opt-in language, putting it on your checkbox forms, whatever it might be, now would be the time to start doing it. Just like Sara's newsletter that she mentioned, when you get the content ready, it really stinks to have no one to send it to, right? You want to
Yep.
start building your database now. If I left anyone with one word of advice, that would be it.
Yeah.
Um,
Mine would be just choose wisely. Like,
mhm,
think about what you're going to send through that channel and make
mhm.
sure that it is what you think that person's gonna, is it gonna delight them, what that experience is gonna be for them. And
Mhm.
don't just think about it as another way to blast like a text spec to them
Yeah,
or something,
spray and pray. We do
Yeah,
not, none of us
Right.
advocate for that.
Spaghetti
my
marketing. Hate it all.
spaghetti marketing. See what sticks. Mine is you're often looking for new channels in the B2B sector or just unlocks and opportunities and motions. This is untapped for a lot of us. So, give it some good thought and then in the process of giving it some good thought, do all the things we talked about, strategize and think about it, but build yourself a RACI model and try to understand who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who should be informed, and and go through the whole. It's RACI for those of you. Go through the whole RACI process to decide how you want to implement any technology, but definitely for this one because it's untapped. Um, and I think that that'll give you some good legs to stand on from a strategic point of view.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I think stay human focused. Think about the recipient of the messages. I think that's something that B2C does pretty well. Like not perfectly, but they tend to, if you subscribe, they send you stuff that you're gonna be interested in, not just like, hello, we sell clothes. Um, so I
Right.
think like the personalization aspect. And then Amanda, I think you had a great point too, which is test it out. Like put out like, hey, want to sign up for text messages and get a sense of what interest there might be, and then also who shows up. Like if you put that out there and it's just other sales reps trying to sell to your company, then maybe that's a sign that either the
You're not ready
positioning is
yet.
not right or your audience is not ready yet. So I think start, learn more and more and see what other brands are doing, especially in the B2C space, because not everything is translatable, but a decent amount could be. And then start small and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I agree. That is great. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I will look forward to connecting with each of you, hopefully in real life soon. And thanks
Shoot me a
again for
text.
joining. Yeah, I'll text you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everybody.
much. This is great.
Thanks, everybody.
This was one of the best ones that I've been a part of. So thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I will end with that. I will text each of you. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.